Hi Dan,
Hi.
it's a pleasure to meet you. I've been a fan of your work for a long, long time since
Oh, thank
Downton Abbey, but especially Legion. It's one of my favorite series of all times, and I
thank you
thank
very
you for
much.
that gift of 3 seasons.
Oh,
So I
good.
just wanted to begin asking you about the series. What attracted you to Gaslight and to your character?
I think it was a very interesting re-examination of a very key period in American world history, really.
Mhm.
And the podcast Slow Burn, my wife and I were big fans of that, and so we were, aware of the story, the material, and it's absolutely fascinating how many new story threads seem to come out of something that we think we sort of know about. We know about the Woodward and Bernstein journalistic, uh, uncovering of this scandal, but actually looking inside it, looking at the individuals involved, looking at the people who tried to speak truth to power, who were silenced, Martha Mitchell, for example. All of this was news to me, so really a very interesting way of looking at that situation, but also a way of looking at some of the things that have happened more recently in political history,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's too soon to look at those things head on, but to look at something in the mid distant past that have some relevance on that, I think is a it's a useful, healthy way of kind of processing.
I was talking to Betty Gilpin yesterday, and how she
Right.
contrasted your character, and she told me how there is very very little information, mostly a book that her characters write for her to work about.
Yeah.
How did you prepare for yourself for your character?
Well, yeah, fortunately for me, there's a bit more material on John Dean than
Yeah,
there is on Mo Dean.
of course.
Everybody involved seemed to have got a book deal out of it. So, there's many, many books and a lot of accounts from all the different angles on, my involvement in Watergate. Yeah, I mean, both their books, John Dean's book is called Blind Ambition, and the
Mhm.
title alone is a pretty good, indication of the major theme of the John Dean story. Mo Dean's account is very interesting too, and looking at the strength of their marriage and the value of that marriage during
Yeah.
this time. There's hundreds of hours of footage of the hearings, some of it incredibly boring, but very, very useful from a sort of character point of view. Looking at the way that he held himself, the way he talks, and of course he's still alive and frequently appears on CNN. Kind of as their resident corruption expert, and so you can sort of study the old man and see some of the young man in there, I think, and yeah, pretty interesting character to dive into, really.
You talked before at the start of the interview about how Watergate is a name we know, for example, here in Spain also, but maybe not the themes that Gaslit puts on. How do you think it will travel internationally? You've been working for a long time in Hollywood, but you have that British perspective. How do you think it could work, for example, here in Spain?
Well, yeah, I don't know quite how it translates into Spanish, but certainly any scandal since Watergate
Yeah.
has the suffix
Yeah.
"gate." Here in England, we're currently living through Partygate, and a very corrupt criminal leader who really needs to resign. And I think these scandals, they come around time and time again, and I'm sure Spain is no exception.
Nope.
There are some people who are attracted to being in government who want to effect change and are there for noble reasons. Others not so much, and I think that is universal. I don't think there's a country out there that doesn't struggle with some of these themes and issues. And so what's interesting about Gaslit specifically is looking at the personality types that are
Mhm.
attracted to this kind of corruption, this kind of scandal, the kind of cover up, the way that people are desperate to cling to power, to be close to power,
Yep.
and the compromises that people make to stay there.
In that focus, do you see Gaslit as an anthology series that could go on, perhaps with another scandal, focusing on that themes with different scandals all around the world?
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, that's not really for me to say, but I mean, there are, I think with any of these scandals, they're always, especially when it's, a world power.
Hmm.
There are huge consequences, but also you look at the details of it, and it's so stupid, and there's such idiotic behavior at its core. It's mind blowing, that these idiots can have such huge, global consequences sometimes. And so, yeah, I think there's, there are, I'm sure, many scandals. There could be many series like this going forward.
And as my last question, Dan, what have you been watching recently, and have you liked, if they're on TV or on film?
I suppose the most recent thing I watched and enjoyed was Pam and Tommy. I don't know if that's aired in Spain, but that was also a little episode of history that I didn't know much about. I just knew the vague headlines, but once you look into that story, pretty fascinating and very fun exploration of a moment in media history.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dan. It's been a great pleasure and to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Likewise.
Bye.